Morning, everybody. Jesse, I'm an addict. That's a cool looking microphone, man. Grateful to be here. I wasn't like flat out asked to share at this workshop. Maybe I self-willed it, but somebody said that there needed to be workshop speakers, and there was a blank spot at the very first one for this morning. So I was like, all right, I'll jump on it. And I'm not going to lie, it's a pain in the ass to try to find a damn basic text at a Narcotics Anonymous function at a camp out, man. I didn't bring one, And so if I got one, I tried to try to read a little bit last night, and it didn't work. And then I tried to read some more, and this morning it didn't work so well for me, but then people left the cabin. I was able to read a little bit and try to collect myself. The third step for myself, man, it's still third step's a struggle for me, because it says we made a decision to turn our will and life over to the care of a God of our own understanding. And I take my will back constantly. It's difficult for me to trust in something outside of myself to make me better. And I'm sure a lot of people could share that, but I mean, it's something that's unseen, that's supposed to be on the spiritual realm. I got laughed at when I was like, yeah, I'm sharing on the third step, because I'm known for being one of the most unspiritual people that know. But those are the people that don't intimately know me. They may surface level know me, and they know that I am a spiritual person. I've had to have conversations with my sponsor, like, hey, I'm about to walk into this youth group meeting, and I need to repent having a phone conversation with your dumbass. Can I hang up and then pray, and then I could walk in there with a clear mind? Because third step's been a rough one for me this year. And I it's funny, when I was reflecting on the reading, I'm like, yeah, I'm going through a lot of third step stuff. I want to take power and control over my own life. Things did not work out the way I signed up for years and years ago when I first come through this door. Nothing, as a result of my own doing, just people have made some poor decisions around me, and it have really hurt me, and there's some lives that are lost as a result of it. And I remember the first night that... I'm sorry, I hate to keep bringing this up. But I'm still dealing with it. This was years ago, but when my friend passed away, I remember that night where I really told the God of my understanding to go F himself. I'm taking my will back. I have prayed for this man and prayed for this man and prayed for this man, and I've knelt at the altar, and I've done everything I can, and this is the result of it. And looking back in a lot of areas of my life, that was one of those things where it's like, things didn't work out the way Jesse planned it. I have to understand that my God's will for me, he sees the bigger picture, and even though in the moment of the pain, there's something to come out of it. We close our home group with the third step prayer. We close our home group. I really wanted to piss off a bunch of people and say, hey, can we change the format and close with the Our Father? Oh, yeah. Have the NA pitchforks be sharpened and everything. Torches come out and shit. Basic text getting thrown at me. It's tough for myself to really try to put into words the magnitude of having a relationship with something outside of myself to restore me to sanity. And then turning my will over to that something especially when I was new. I had an idea of what my God was. I mean, I grew up in a Catholic household. It was not something but I wasn't Catholic. I'm the only person in my family that's not Catholic, which is kind of funny. But I'm the one that they asked to do prayer at Christmas and Thanksgiving. They do their hymn. They get all that out the way before I share. But in those times where I can't connect and I can't have this stupid ass aura that comes around me, I fall back on spiritual principles. I fall back on, okay, am I an honest man today? You know, because I know the God of my understanding, that's important to him. You know, do I try to live as honorable? One thing that I keyed in the reading on the third step is it says, the result of action of this step will show in how we live. It shows in how we live. It may not show in how I act. Okay. You know, because I act a fool. A lot of people know that. I like to have a good time. It may not show in all the decisions I make in my life, but it shows in how I live. And if I could look in the mirror and say, did I live with some honor and some integrity today? Did I take care of my family? Am I showing up in my kids' lives? Am I an okay husband? I gotta say okay. Because I wasn't a great husband. Before I came out here, my wife and I got into it, and it was tough. I hate leaving her. I made her cry. I was an asshole. It's not all right. But you know what? But I'm a faithful husband. Okay. I'm a good father. You know, and I don't have to put a 15-page diatribe on my Facebook because all of a sudden I have a spiritual moment and I'm going to list it all and try to share it all with the world and show everybody how spiritual I am. Fuck out of here. Get a job. Be a man. You know what I mean? Love your kids. You know, roll around in the mud with them a little bit. Get dirty. Get your hands dirty, man. And that shows the result of the third step of my life, because I have to look that I am not the center of my universe. That if I take my will back, then I become the center of the universe. And I don't want to be the center of my universe no more. Every aspect of my life that I've lived shows that when I do that and I become the center of my universe, man, my life spirals out of control. And I really become intolerable to be around. You know, I got to know that I'm part of a bigger picture. And part of that bigger picture is being okay and accepting of myself. Get a job. You know, I like to pray. I like to pray for my family. I like to pray for others. I like to do, how do I explain it? Like if I give, and I give of my time, and I give of my finances or what have you, or any of my energy or passion, I was taught that I have to do it under, you know, I don't need to have any glorification of it. You know what I mean? I don't need to have hey, look what I did. I did this for this person. Because then that's self-centered. I'm trying to pat myself on the back. Fuck that. I'm part of a bigger picture. I'm part of a bigger picture. We are all accountable to that bigger picture. You know, and hopefully I allow others to have the freedom to experience the God of their understanding. Because I'm unashamed. I'm a Christian. I know, sharpen up the pitchforks. No, but I am a Christian. I am not a perfect Christian. I am not. I don't profess to be. If people say you're a hypocrite, okay, that's fine. But I'm trying, and I'm getting better. And that is what it is, man. As long as we're engaged in that process and we're trying to push toward being better people than we were yesterday, then you know what? It is what it is, man. It's a damn marathon. It's not a sprint. You know what I mean? You see people that get filled with all this spiritual, and then the balloon pops because of real life Real life comes up, pop, and all of a sudden their world gets rocked. Hopefully I have a strong enough foundation that I could fall on spiritually to be like, you know what? All right, God, I'm mad at you right now. And I know your shoulders are big enough to handle it, so here it comes. And then I get knocked down a couple pegs, you know, because I got to then he tell you again, the reoccurring theme in my life, man, that I've been able to fall back on is the big picture. What's the big picture? You know what I mean? Ooh, God help me. I coach girls softball. Don't ask me how people had allowed me to be responsible with their kids, because I don't, knowing where I come from to where I'm like, wow, really? You wouldn't ask? Okay. I've been doing it for years. It just became, I kind of fell into it. You know, there needed to be help. I fell into it, and it ended up being something that I really love. And the best thing, and I kind of could correlate this, so please follow with me. I could correlate this with my relationship with God. If I have a player that's a first-year player that cannot play, she's sorry, all right? I'll never tell her she's sorry. But, I mean, she struggles. If she's better than she was at the end of the season, and she wants me to coach her again next year, I did my job. That's right. Now, whether we won, whether we lost, whether we got the championship or not, I don't care about none of that. And the players get mad at me when I say that because they're all hungry. They want to win. And I'll be like, trust me, I want to win too. I'm tired of seeing these people with their pinkies up, living in the gated communities, have better equipment than you, and they're always getting the championships. Trust me, I hate it too. But let's be real. If you're better than you were and you want more help and you still want to engage in this process, that's all I can ask for as a coach. You know what I mean? And it is what it is. I mean, the wins and losses will come and they'll go. I don't care about our record. I really don't. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. I'll wake up at 2 a.m, 2-out rally. They scored 7 runs on us and we had 2 outs to get out of the damn inning. Really? 2 a.m, I wake up with that shit sometimes. Yeah, for real? Come on, man. I hate that team. Why we go out like that? The bigger picture is, if I'm better than I was than where I started, and I still want to have a relationship with my God as a result of that, then I'm doing good. You know what I mean? And if people want to say, well, you know, don't get judged, because we will get judged right out of these rooms, and we will get judged right off our square. That's right. You know, we'll get judged, and people will think, well, this person ain't doing this right, this person ain't doing this right, this person ain't living right, this person. If I could look in the mirror, and that's tough, man, because my scale for that may be way different than somebody else's scale. But if they're better than they were than when they started, who am I to judge? It's a God of our understanding. You know what I mean? And my process could be different than my sponsor's process. You know, my children's and wives' process with the God of their understands can be different than mine. But if I'm better, you know, but here's the thing. I got to make sure that I'm pushing it to the best of my ability, not the best of my willingness. You know, a lot of people are either too scared to try and take a risk, or they want to hang on character defects and keep doing all the same shit. I want to live dirty, but put the facade on that I'm right. You know, with the 20-page Facebook diatribe about how spiritual I am. I don't give a shit. I got mouths to feed, man. Yeah. You know, I swore I was gonna be nice and try not to cuss up here. I didn't. I was like, and I was actually gonna do some ridiculous stuff last night, but I'm like, no, man, I'm sharing on the third step tomorrow. I can't, man. And love those that know me know I don't act right a lot of times. But I have a unshaking gratitude for what God has brought me in my life. as a direct result, and I'm unashamed of this, as a direct result of Narcotics Anonymous and the principles and the people in my life, I'm still raising them, but I got 3 children that never knew a life of active addict in my life. I've been faithful to my wife. It's been close. Things have been tough, but I'm a good husband. That's right. I'm a good father. As a direct result of Narcotics Anonymous and living by spiritual principle, like passing a drug test, showing up to work, being responsible with equipment, I was able to get promoted through my job and actually make a really good living right now. And that's all, and I'm not doing this for self-glorification. It's a direct, trust me, I don't deserve half of what I got. You know what I mean? I don't deserve half that shit. I worked hard, but a lot of people work hard. You know what I mean? A lot of people work hard. It is what it is. God has blessed me. I'm grateful for that, man. But it's a direct result of, I did the next right thing when it came around. When I struggled, I reached out to somebody outside of myself to get some help. That's right. And I made a decision based off that. And one good decision turns into 2, and all of a sudden, you're living right. The results of the steps are in your life as a result of how you're living. It may not necessarily be how you're acting or the things that come out of your mouth all the time, but it's in how you're living. And you know what? If people want to judge off that and try to knock you off that square, man, if it's going to make them feel better about themselves, good for you. Because I got mouths to feed. That's right. You know what I mean? And that's who I'm accountable to. And there's some people that should be here that aren't here, man. Part of taking my will back was really turning. Some that know me, some that don't. I was close to becoming a credentialed minister. And I'm not blaming my friend on this at all, but he committed suicide. And it's a person we got clean together in these rooms, and it was a tough thing. During that process of that, I totally turned my back on the God of my understanding. I didn't believe in him anymore. And the amazing thing is I had people in this fellowship, some that are in this room, that are Christian, that were able to help me through that process. And they realized that I don't need to have, God had a different plan for me. And it's my responsibility as a recovering addict to seek and know what that plan is. Because we're not dropped here just off a chance. There's a reason for it, and we have to seek that reason out. You know what I mean? We have to. Because it would be real sad that if we come here, get some joy in our life, get clean, and think that's it. No. We all have some type of purpose, man. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you've done. If you're sucking air, you got hope. If you're sucking air, God has a plan. He sees the big picture. However you want to follow that path, that's totally up to you. That's one of the great things about the third step, man. When we make our decision, it's our decision. I don't have to have the guy tell me what God I have to follow or what spiritual path I have to take. Some things are suggestions. If they work for you, great. If they don't, great. As long as you're moving in a positive direction. Key word, positive. Away from the old living. As a result of that, man, I've been able to reconnect with the God of my understanding. Our relationship is different. I still have some anger and some resentment. My God's shoulders are big enough to handle it. And my God cares enough to love me through it. And my God is constantly telling me not to beat myself up. That you're all right. And that I love you. And that's some of the hardest stuff for me to hear. And I'm not saying he talks to me in visible audible hearing and burning bushes and I start foaming at the mouth or nothing. Let's not get stupid with it. Let's not get stupid with it. But I see it as a result of the people around me, man. I see it as a result of the relationships that still show up even when I don't want to show up. You know what I mean? I see it from, I'm able to see God in other areas of my life. I see God when my daughter finally hit the home run over the fence. She jacked the shit out that ball, man. She was so mad because she hit it, and I knew it was going, and it hit the yellow strip right on the edge of the fence and bounced in. And she's on 2 teams this year, and then I'm like, oh no. So she was upset. She's like, I got to stand up double. It is what it is. And she has a rivalry with a girl on the team that she doesn't care about, and it's the other catcher. My daughter's a catcher. She's the other catcher. She's like, I don't like mean girls. It's teenage. Oh, God. Oh. So that girl comes up to the plate. My daughter's on second. That girl comes up to the plate, hits one over the fence. Man, my daughter was inconsolable when she rounded. She was like, she was so angry. And I'm like, she's going to shut down. Next time at bat, jacked it over the fence. I'm like, man, I threw my 4-year-old daughter over the fence. Go get the ball. That ball's mine. That ball's mine. All the years I put into this, no, that ball's mine. You'll get another one. Yeah, I coach, on a lighter note, I coach 2 teams. I'm the assistant coach of her travel ball team, and I'm a head coach of her in-house team, her city league team. And sometimes I'd rather have a cheese grater and scraped up against my face and a rhino stomping on my chest than to coach teenage girls. I caught myself, yeah, it is. But I caught myself once. I'm trying, coach. Try harder, because right now you're sucking. They just laugh it off. They know I don't mean it. I love my kids, man, and I love being a part of their lives, and I love being a part of other people's lives, man, and trying to help kids out. Because the time vested into it now, I really believe, man, if we had enough fathers that were willing to be a part, and I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that if you were able to and willing to be a part of, kids wouldn't be so hurting right now. We wouldn't see the suicides that we see in schools and the hurting and the influx of young people coming into the program. We wouldn't see it, man. And all of that is a direct result of you guys in Narcotics Anonymous. You guys helped me raise my kids. That's scary. That really is scary. I ain't gonna lie. I got Jason. He's a close friend of mine, and he is not right. And my children have known him since they were, as he calls it, knee high to a grasshopper. And some of the stuff that he says to them, I have to deprogram them when Jason leaves. All right, look, I have to debrief him all the time. All right. I love you guys, and I'm very grateful for having an opportunity to come up here and share with you. And I'm hoping you guys got something out of it. If you didn't, call your sponsor. I don't give a fuck.
Thanks, Jess. I'd like to call the next speaker Adam W. All right.
Good morning, family. My name's Adam W., and I'm a recovering addict. I'm like the brother, I kind of went in to sign up or register for the room, and they were talking about the space was open, and I got a sponsor, and he says anytime being asked to share, speak, or be of service, be of service. I think I'm gonna go here with this. It's been a different year for me, but this is like the first time I've probably been like to a campsite since I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I like outdoors, but some years ago when I was clean, I used to buy vans and trucks, and I kept saying I was going to buy one of those big old mobile homes and take the kids a lot of places. And I used to take them a lot of places, but about 8 years ago, I relapsed after having about 14 years clean. And I suggest to anybody that's here, stay here. The suggestions are valid. I am now a firm believer in, if you don't work this program, you go in the other way. Now, how you go in there is up to you. It might be real slow, but sooner or later, there's only two things can happen. You're either going to recover, or you're going back to using, and you know what you get with using: jails, institutions, and death. When it comes to this, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Being a church-raised child, I've always thought I knew God. I always said like this: I knew my mother's God. It wasn't until later in life, or actually even after I relapsed. When I got back here this last time, you guys, if you look at my right leg, you'll see a lot of black marks on it. I had 7 pins running through my right leg, and they were threatening to cut my foot off. I had failed working and had relapsed and was using, and broke my right leg, and I broke both the bones. And it took me almost 4 years to get my leg right. It's funny because I now have as a piece, I don't quote a lot of stuff correctly, so forgive me, but I work on it. There's a part that says, I think in recovery and relapse, when you get back here, you'll be a little more rigorous about your program. I am now a firm believer in some things. I am a firm believer in getting a home group, a sponsor, making meetings on a regular basis, because the God of my understanding is loving and caring. I am learning now that this God has been taking care of me all of my life. Just to give you a brief history of my life, even as a kid, my sister one time, we were playing house, gave me a bottle of Baby Bear aspirin. My mother had a rule that you couldn't come in her house if she wasn't there. My aunt says, let me go here right quick. They say this is a spiritual disease. We deal with spiritual matters. And so I have to always suggest that I understand now that the Spirit is always looking out for me. Truth be told, the God of my understanding is always looking out. And my aunt said, open the door and let me in, because my sister said, well, something's wrong with Adam. He's been laying on the floor for an hour. And at about 5 years old, I was laying there full of pills, and my aunt said she don't know how she came over. She came over because she felt something was wrong. I believe from that point to this day, I now understand that God of my understanding was protecting me. Even in active addiction, I had an incident one day right before I got clean this last time. I was in my truck one night, and I had been gone a few days, and I know a lot of people were looking for me, and I had pulled up to a phone booth, which wasn't working, and I wouldn't, when you get high, you won't answer your phone, and if you ain't got no charger, you ain't gonna call nobody. But I was really debating doing something crazy one night, and I'm not saying God promotes using. I'm just saying sometimes in active addiction, God allows some things to work to your good so you don't do something too extreme that could get you killed, or get you a case and you have to go to prison for a long time. I'm a believer in the literature because it says in one, I think it says, you can find meaning and purpose in life and be rescued from insanity, depravity, and death. See, if you've been in this program like I have and then go back out, he said something about turning this, about being mad with God. I feel like that's what I used the last time. I turned my back on God, who had given me everything. I'm talking about when I came here at 25, stayed about 6 weeks or about 6 months, and then went back out and came back at 28. At 28, I got a life. It says we share our experience, trips, and hopes. I got a life from the God of my understanding. I went from, we used to say, park bench to park place. I was able to start a business. I started working for myself. I ended up with a contract for the city. I went from making probably $17,000 to I had a contract at one time with the city of Detroit for like $650,000. It's just a single old guy myself, And even when I look back over my life in this thing, I didn't realize then that the power was even taking care of me then, because these experiences would help me today. My sponsor always says, try and share where you at. Well, getting back here, you guys, so many coincidences and miracles have happened in my life. If you haven't seen any in your life yet, please be patient. They're stacked up waiting for you. But you got to stay in the process. And I know that process ain't always easy, because it's hard to turn my wheel over. I don't understand what you mean, turn my wheel over. I understand better now than I ever did. I've seen the God of my understanding not only work in my life, but I run with a group of folks and watch them work in their lives, in the kids' lives, in my church life. And I know this is not a religious program. I've seen God work in my church. I've seen God work in my life. So it's something so simple as this. They stole my truck April the 1st. My wife woke me up and said, well, where'd you park the truck? How it goes is I got this truck and I got a trailer and it's got all its tools in them. And we used to keep the trailer on the side of the garage and it was gated in. But during the winter, when the mud started to come, the truck I got like a dual wheel truck, so it started to make a ditch. And so it was like, every time I pull out more and more mud. So we decided that we was gonna have some rocks delivered to drive over. But the day the rocks were supposed to come was like that following Tuesday. That Monday night, after about a week, we had been parking the truck connected to the trailer against the garage. I live in Detroit, so I had to watch my stuff. That being said, my wife wakes up and she comes back and she says, where'd you park the truck? And I said, half sleep, we get up around 5:30 miles per hour. What do you mean? I parked it, well, I always parked it in the driveway. I said it kind of flippantly, and she said, well, it's gone. She goes, and to show you how amazed we were that it was gone, she actually went back to the door and looked again and then came back and said, no, the truck gone. Right? And then I got up and I jumped in the car and I drove, I live like Greenfield and Pembroke, and I drove up to Greenfield and I drove almost to the 8 Mile, and then I thought about it, I said, what are you doing? There ain't no way you're gonna find this thing, right? See, that's to go to show you what my thinking and my ability is. I'm thinking I'm not gonna find anything. But I'm gonna share it like this. Listen, so about 2 weeks later, one night, my stepson is at McDonald's. It's about 11 o'clock. I go to a Cox for Recovery meeting. It starts at 8 o'clock on Sunday nights. We go to the meeting after the meeting, and so most nights I don't get home Sunday night till around midnight, sometimes 11:30, because we eat. And I'm just coming in the door, and I'm starting to take off my clothes. My wife is on the phone talking to our son. And he's asking her questions, and she I don't know, just ask him, because I know at this point we're still mad they took our stuff. He says, well, tell me something about the truck. I said, well, it got these stripes on it on the side, and it got dual wheels, right? He said, well, how would I know it was the truck? I said, well, if you look at the back of the truck, on the right side, there's a mud flap, it's got silver on it, and there's a big chrome pipe right there, right? And on the other side, there's no mud flap. He says, well, I'm in McDonald's line, man, and I'm looking at your truck. I get in the car, and I say, follow him, and then I'll catch up to y'all, right? Nah, it used to be a time I thought I was a gangster. I'm gonna just show you how this thing works, how you start as you rely more on your spirituality. You don't want to cause harm. I don't want to harm anybody. Years ago, I used to tell somebody I was going to kill somebody about one of my vans, and I used to have them custom vans, and a friend of mine as a state trooper said, Adam, the reason they make you buy insurance is because when they take your stuff, the insurance company replaces it, you don't go outside and kill somebody. That's just a note for somebody who might be thinking like me, want to kill somebody. Buy some insurance, so if something happens, you get your stuff back. So anyway, we catch up to this guy. I kind of face him off with the truck. We got a Mercury Milan. He's going to ram the car. I'm talking to the state trooper on the phone, and they're like, leave him alone. And I've lived in Detroit, well, most of my life. I've lived in some of the outside communities too, but I've lived in Michigan all my life. And that night, that Sunday night, was the first time in my entire life I told my wife, and I was really, really upset. I says, I ain't no kids here. I said, I don't give a fuck, I can move. That's how mad I was with the whole, y'all ain't gonna come get my truck right there. Y'all ain't nowhere around, y'all the police. I was really mad. But what I'm getting at here, you guys, is that's how this power works in your life, and you can't see that. When I came here this weekend, I came with Kurt and Felicia. Me and Kurt were in the basement together. We always laugh about the basement and how we coming up on 4 years in the next 2 months, a group of us, right? And how 4 years ago in the basement, we didn't see this. I don't see this day. I don't see that truck. I don't see my wife. All these things were gifts from me, from the God of my understanding, for being in this process, doing the best I can. So we let the guy go. I go home, and about a week later, we're going to see my stepson, and me and my wife are on our way, and we make the joke about, we're going to find our truck, right? And we drive up Livernois and go, and on our way back, I look over, I swear, you know how if it was no green out there, if it was just over, winter was just over, if you looked out there now, you would just see the branches from the trees, right? And I look through them trees, and I see the back of my truck sitting. My wife says, that's not the truck. I says, turn around. And we turn around, and we look, and we can see the back of the truck. And we go around there, right? And the truck is sitting up on somebody's driveway, like on an abandoned, where a house used to be, and we just pull in the driveway. We see two guys sitting in the car. We back out, and we go back to Livernois, and we call the police. And you can say what you want to say about the Detroit police response time, but they came in about 11 minutes. I got that truck back. I drove that truck here, and the condition my truck was in before they stole it was not excellent. We're gonna say fair. But if you get a chance, I'm talking about watching the power in your life work. You get a chance, you look at that truck today, you would be amazed that it looks brand new. Where it had simulators on it. This may sound trivial to you, but I'm talking about this power. They replaced the simulators on the truck. They painted the truck. They put new catalytic converters and exhaust and muffler on the truck. I'm talking about, man, it runs. A truck guy knows what I'm saying. This thing's running, man. We run at 90 up here, right? I'm saying that to say, because where it would have been a catastrophe. Let me show you how some of the blessings happened in the process of the last 6 weeks or 8 weeks since the truck got stolen. One, I did not miss a day's work. I got about 6 people that work for me. And in that process, I did not miss a day's work. They stole all my equipment. The day they stole it, my daughter, which is my stepdaughter, who was very adamant. This is what she called me 4 years ago. She told her mama, excuse me again, I don't know why you fucking with that crackhead. That very crackhead that she disliked, she called and said, I'm going home and get my gun. We going to find that truck. Right? And I explained to her, she knew I wasn't going to do nothing wrong. But you know what happened? She called back, y'all, 10 minutes later and said, listen, I got a Home Depot credit card with she couldn't stand me, with $500 on it. You could come get it. You pay it back whenever you can so you can get you some tools. I'm talking about the power working in my life. You think that's something? Check out what else that happened. One of the ladies at my church found out that they stole my truck. She didn't even ask us. She pulled up to my house on a Saturday and told me and my wife to come outside. She brought an Explorer to my house and told me, you drive that till you get your truck back. I'm talking about this power in this program. We talking about in the symbol, it talks about society, right? So let me tell you how funny this God is, or not. I use some words sometimes I'm not sure what to put in place of. Let me show you how powerful and how far in advance the power is working in our lives and in other people's lives, and they don't know it. And that part where it says you'll be used as a tool or an instrument. Check this out. So last week I do a lot of roofing. I had some roofing delivered to a job. The roofing company got the 9 and the 5 mixed up, and they delivered it to the wrong house. And the guy called me and said, we not getting he called the roofing store after telling the delivery guy that they wasn't getting them. He called the roofing store and said, I don't know who Adam is, but he need to come get his stuff from off the side of my truck. They call me, I go to the house and have to sit there while the roofing company comes back to get the material. But the guy that's in the house has been looking for a job for 5 months. And I tell my wife, when I pull off from there, he telling me he know how to do roofing, but I hear that all the time. So I was like, But I'm talking about, as I get home, me and my wife talk about a lot. So I'm telling her about how the material got, how my day went, and so and so, and about this guy. And as I go to tell her about the guy, I hear the power say, "Get a guy a job." That's what it's about. Come on. I didn't know that I used to say, you could be believing God for something, but I would never believe that a job would come and knock on your door. I had to go back to his house, knock on his door, say, "Hey man, if you want to work, start Monday." I'm talking about the power, what I'm gonna be used as. Something I never saw. I always share this one about my wife's got an ex. And I don't know if you heard it, but in Detroit about a year and a half ago, the boy was flying up the little nice neighborhood street. Kid got killed. One little baby got killed, and the boy that was holding the little baby, he was in intensive care for 2 months, right? And I don't see going to the hospital and praying for the little boy. But see, the thing about it says in Narcotics Anonymous that results count. See, when we do stuff, believe it or not, it's acts. We need results because we won't keep the path. We go to the hospital and pray. Me and my wife, her best friend, a friend of mine, another guy that does roofing, his wife's clergy. I got all these people together to pray for the little boy. And when the little boy, the first day we went there, he had a fever for 2 weeks or something. When we left the hospital that night, he didn't have no fever. But see, I tell everybody, if you see these little kids in the hospital, that's a hard place to be. But this little boy, when I saw him, he had a feeding tube down his throat. He had some monitors on him. And I still don't know what it is. I got to try and find out what it is. He had a thing in his ear. And he a little boy, he like 11, laying up there in the bed. Truth be told, I was messed up. Because I remember when I was in hospital 28 days on my back. And I was like, wow, it's one thing to be grown and have to go through this. But imagine being a kid going through it. But what I'm getting at is still how the power has got some things for us to do. And so even after that, right, that was on a Monday because my home group meets Monday nights, right? And that next Monday, that little boy was out of intensive care. They took the tube out of his mouth. They took the thing out of his ear. I think we went to see him, right? That Sunday, matter of fact, we went to see him that Sunday. He was in the room talking. I said, wow. I ain't talking about I'm nobody. I'm saying, would I be used? Would I allow the God of my understanding to use me? That's right. You know what I'm saying? In 3 it says this right here, and this is I got like 3 books, and so like some of them are really highlighted, but there is the one where it says we'll continue to guide you if you allow it. Yeah. See, it says it is not where we were that counts, but where we are going. There's so many things that the power is trying to do in my life and show me that it's got me. Because my problem lies in self-will. And my self-will, I don't even realize it's self-will sometimes because I have lived by these principles all my life. The problem is that these principles were taught to me by misinformed people. So they don't understand. I was sharing with the brothers last night about, see, there's a part in the journey that the journey continues that says spirituality is our natural state. So that means that if I come here and I don't know anything about my spirituality, I need to learn because the book says we deal with spiritual matters. And I keep saying, well, what do you mean? I think the problem for me has been I've been running off of the destructive power of self-centeredness, so it makes me go and look at the world a certain way. But if I could get a better spiritual understanding and a better relationship, because it says conscious contact. And consciously, my conscience is always on. It's not like a switch. I don't turn it off and turn it on. It means that God is always speaking to me. He is always trying to direct me. My problem is self-will won't allow me to listen, or I'll hear the power say something, and I'll just do opposite anyway. I know that it's true because I know that the few times that I have done exactly what it said, I don't even want to use, I start to see the miracles and the coincidences when I allow the power to work in my life. It's funny, y'all, because me and my wife were concerned. I couldn't afford to insure my tubes. I was concerned that I was going to have to buy them like I bought them. A little here, a little there. That's how it go. The funny thing about it is that we had AAA insurance. Our homeowners insurance covered the trailer's contents. The lady told us that they will pay you $1,000 towards the trailer. I'm talking about the power working in my life, and I don't want it to sound like it's all about money, because it's just more than money, but it's just proof. They not only gave us $1,000 toward the trailer. When they sent us the last check, they gave us another $1,000 toward the trailer off the homeowner's policy. They gave us $1,000 off the homeowners and $1,000 off the auto insurance. We lost $800 off the trailer. I mean, we got $2,000 back, but we thought we weren't gonna get nothing. About $7,000 or so, or whatever, in tools, if not more. But we got a nice amount of money back off the tools. I didn't think that was happening. And it used to be a time I didn't consider the power working in my life in every area. This is what it means in every area. It means whenever I am faced with, the power is there. Now, will I use the power, or will I use old behavior? See, my old behavior would have said, lie about it. Make the bill $50,000, you might get 10. I mean, that's what, you know, I mean, maybe y'all don't. I got a little crook in me, you know what I'm saying? So I would have, but I try to live by some new principles: honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, right? It says, with these things we are well on our way. Again, as you got to remember, you going somewhere, like it or not. Now, you either going with the power in this program, or you going back at some point. I hate to say it that way, but that's just the truth. It's recover or die. Yeah. It's recover or institution. It's recover or jail. So I started to understand that how I turned my will in my life over was that every time I decide to think I know what I'm supposed to do, that maybe I ought to take a step back and listen. When something happens now in my life, most of the time, I'm able to take another perspective of it. Instead of looking at it from my old ways, I try and turn it around and look at it from another way. Sometimes, what would be the benefit for the other person? See, I ain't running in and trying to be perfect. I'm just trying to run in. I don't want to go back. I always share this thing about the contract I had with the city, that they made us tell a story, a lie. People were supposed to get roofs, electrical services, and furnaces, right? But the truth be told, I knew they would only get 2 of the 3. We knew if you got the roof and the electrical service, you wasn't getting no furnace. Actually, it was 4 choices. If you got the attic insulated and the roof, you wasn't getting no service or no furnace. But they told us to tell them to get them to sign the paper. And I think I was about maybe 10 years clean, and I wasn't cheating on my ex-wife or none of that. And I tell folks, it's like a fungus. That little thing, and it may not have bothered anybody, any of the other contractors in the room, but it bothered me that I had to tell this story. And you know how you would be sitting with somebody and getting them to sign? It's cheating, hell, it's lying. And you know, it's something about lying and cheating that, although it may not look like it's bothering you on the outside, it's my internal where the issues lie. How I see myself, I always thought, a lot of times we think it's how everybody else sees us, but it's when I'm by myself that I look over my day and my actions where the issues lie. The self-hatred, the unwillingness, the depression from, I can't keep doing this. It's like when you start cheating. You know, it's like, I tell a lot of folks, I'm learning, you have to really listen. If you marry, listen to your mate. Because one of the things that me and my wife did when we got together, we had known each other, right? But I tried to explain to her, I've been known to have, when I cheated on my last wife, one of my issues was I was out of control. And I realized now that this power, or the destructive power, will work in any area it can. You might just be screwing around on your wife, right? But at some point, something's gonna come up that's gonna make you use. You know what I'm saying? It ain't about being perfect, but lying to them people bothered me. So now I'm getting a little weak in that area in my ability to be honest. See, if you run around being honest to the best of your ability, what about when you start lying at them? You start lying a little over here, then you be lying over here, then you be lying over here, and then all of a sudden you full-blown lying all the time. And then the problem is I would say that the problem is the lying, but the problem becomes how I see myself from the lying. That's where the disease works on me at. It's like, oh, you ain't nothing but a liar. Me and Kurt was just talking about how Don't you know the disease sets us up in any area it can? What it says is, it'll say something like, oh, you ain't got to pay the light bill. Then my smart self come to the conclusion that I don't have to pay the light bill, right? But when I go home and they cut the lights off, you know what the disease say then? You a damn fool, you should have paid the bill. You see what I'm saying? It's always working against me. I don't care what area you use it in, the disease is working against me. When I understand something is working against me, now I understand the value of the program. See, the value is that I first must be able to look at myself and see, I got this disease. I'm a recovering addict. My wife not one. She thinks she understands some days. She don't understand. I tell her all the time, my wife says she's frugal. Frugal is another word for cheap. You know what I'm saying? But the reason I tell her that sometimes we should buy certain things, I say, honey, you don't know what it is to take all your money in the crack house and don't come out with nothing. Right. Nothing. Huh? So we working like she work, I work, she's selling insurance. You know, we always trying to make some money, right? So we shouldn't buy ourselves something sometime. You know what I'm saying? I understand too, you gotta live in this program, y'all. It's funny because I wanted to stay on this thing about how the power just was showing up, or how I'm getting to a point where I can now see the power working in my life so clearly some days. While I had that Explorer, we decided to put a gate around our house, right? So they couldn't just take the stuff again. And the day I was gonna get the gate put up, all I got is that Explorer. So you can imagine them 8-foot panels and about 10 bags of concrete, about 12 or 14 poles up there, right? It's gonna kill it. So I had kind of fretted with doing it, but I came to the conclusion that I would just make like 3 trips, right? And I'm sure just how simple this power is concerned with me. I go in the store, in the Home Depot, I don't get maybe 10 steps in the store, and my son-in-law is in the store, and guess what he in there looking for? A bag of charcoal. But he got a truck. And that might not seem like a big deal to you, but I'm trying to tell you, when you're thinking about 1 trip to 3 trips, and you go through the door, and I didn't even ask the power. It took care of it for me. That's how much it care about us. Loving and caring, it says. I'm talking about care about me. Look, I was able to put all that stuff in the back of his truck. He took it to the house. He said, man, you know what's funny, Adam? He said, like, because I teased him about it. I said, God sent you here so I can take this stuff. He said, what's funny about it, Adam? And this is about 12 o'clock, y'all. He said, I was supposed to come here about 9 o'clock in the morning and get the charcoal. I don't know what happened. I know that sounds minute. All I'm trying to get you to see is that the power is concerned with us. We was talking about being rescued, right? Yeah. See, the problem with being rescued is you think you got saved when you got rescued. Yeah. Rescue means I was already drowning. I had went down twice. I was 3/4 of my lungs was full of water. When I go down this time, I'm not coming back up because I won't have the strength. And on my way down, once the water covered my head, God reached down, got me up, saved me, brung me here, gave me new friends, gave me a wife, gave me a life. And let me tell you one of the best things I got every day. I have not had the desire to use in over 34 months. I have not had a desire to use. And I always try to be reminded of this right here. So you got to understand, I spent some of them last days. The worst thing somebody could tell you, one of the best things somebody could tell you in this program is do not go back and use because it's going to get worse. If you don't believe it, ask me. See, because after that, before when the power had gave me all that stuff, and I would want to vary to say that I turned my back on this program. See, when you don't make meetings and when you don't get a sponsor and you don't get a home group, you turn your back. You don't want what we got. You want what they got. The problem with that is once this program gives you a life and you turn your back on it. I was teasing with Kurt about it, is the disease then ready to whoop you. And they gonna whoop you good. And I mean good. They was talking about cutting off my legs. Some folks don't know, for about a year, I walked around with not a year, but for a couple of months, I walked around with a thing that filtered my blood. I remember being in the hospital one day, laying in the bed, and the nurse coming in about 12 o'clock at night to take my blood again after they had took it 3 times that day. And I said, well, what are y'all doing with all this blood? She said, Mr. Wiley, you don't understand.
She said, we take your blood to culture it so we can find out what's in your blood so we can kill it. And she said, this blood we taking now, if we don't find, we have tried every antibiotic known. And if this next culture we take, we don't have nothing to kill this thing, you probably gonna die. So you don't see that when you're in the basement with Kurt. See, I don't see that. That stuff happened after I got out. After I got out in treatment. That didn't happen before. I was in treatment and that happened. I had got out of treatment and was clean. And now I'm sitting here talking about I could die. So you think you got saved? You think I dragged you up out that crap for nothing, Adam? It don't get down like that around here, y'all. It really don't. I didn't realize that the power ain't getting down like ain't saving us for nothing. He was talking about them girls on the softball team. I'm telling you, I don't know where I'm gonna be used. I had better be willing, y'all. That's right. To go back, man. The payment for going back to the crack house ain't to get high. That ain't the problem. The problem is that beating that's gonna ensue between either getting back here or dying. Because a lot of times it ain't even instant death. One of the brothers that I run with, his wife used 8 months ago, 10 months ago. There is no more hurting feeling when you really can see. The reason I think they always tell us that we're supposed to be helping a newcomer, because that empathy that we're supposed to have, that we don't sometimes have, we be so busy judging, that we're supposed to have empathy for them people who just got out to fight, or out the war, or out the battle, whatever you want to call it. When I start to look at her, I say, wow, I really did get saved. You know how you can see it on somebody that they in pain? It hurts me to see her. And I've had to see her, I think 3 times in the last month, and she's still using. Yeah. And it ain't getting no better. It's getting worse. So, you guys, I thank y'all for letting me come up here. I thank y'all for letting me share. Because the truth be told, they told me I didn't know this was a convention. I thought we was coming up here like a spiritual retreat, like we would sit around in circles and people would share ways to live better. Because I'm always looking for a better way to live, y'all know. I want to live better. I don't want to live like I used to live. I want to be a service. I got care and concern for other people. I heard him sharing about the kid, his daughters. And if I can call it an issue, one of the biggest issues that I got in my life is I got a 7-year-old that I had after I got divorced. And me and her mama social. She take my money. But she don't let me see my daughter like I think she should. She take my money. Anytime she wants something, if I got it, I give it to her. Okay. But my problem is that we keep supposedly going to get this thing together where the baby get to run with her daddy, see? But it ain't happening. And one of the things I'm learning, now I keep saying learning, y'all, the truth be told, one of the things that I do know is that loving and caring God that I talk about is working that thing out. It's worked out. And I think that any issue you're facing, my brother in the back was talking about he just lost a job that I know he had for years because I used to go to the very church where he worked. And all I know is it's getting worked out. I don't always like to use physical things as an example, but they are sometimes the best things I can use. When they stole that truck and trailer from me, where I would have thought it was the end of the world, y'all, it turned out for my good. My life's better because of it. My understanding of the power working in my life is better. That's right. My relationship with a group of people at my church is better. My relationship with some people in Narcotics Anonymous is better because when they took my stuff, people that knew me in the fellowship was calling me, Adam, one brother was persistent about buying me a tool. He said, let me buy you something, Adam. Where am I going to get that out there in them streets, y'all? Who gives? Man, they would have been like, excuse my language, they'd been like, fool, you should have locked it to the gate, you should have did. They'd have told me all the stuff I should have did. They wouldn't have been talking about, let me help you. That's right. That's the beauty of this program that gets you a sponsorship family, get you some friends that says, get some people who want to help you in this thing. So when whatever the situation arises is, we got the solutions. It's either in this book or it's in the fellowship. And the reason we say the fellowship is because it says somebody who has faced my dilemma and found their way out. You got to understand, if somebody steals something from you, you ain't got to shoot them. Let the power work it out. You know what I'm saying? If the wife decided to leave, it's more women. God got more women. I mean, I'm just being realistic. Ain't no sense in me fighting with her. if she decide. And it's a hurtful feeling, but it's some things to be learned from it. One of the best things I learned is now I'm trying to see how do I live in God's will and not Adam's will. Yeah. I ain't saying you don't want things and you don't desire to have things. I'm saying there are some things that the power wants you to do, and that's its will. And I think maybe the simplest way to put it is to just be of service. I don't care what you're doing. Be of service. Yeah. It ain't always got to be about Adam. You know, because there used to be a time it was Adam's way or the highway. I don't care. And don't let, see, that's the part about don't let money, property, and prestige divert you from our primary purpose. Because, see, when I got money, before, not now, but I used to be a mess sometimes. I didn't even realize. I'm going to tell this little story and I'm going to sit down. I used to throw a big company party years ago, right? And we used to throw it on Belle Isle. And I had this big, long trailer we tailgated out of, right? And to show you how arrogant I was, and this was on my way to relapsing. It was parked on the hill, right? And the police came and said, whose is this? And I got about 60 people out there, their kids, all the people that work for my company, right? And he said, well, now we've been there about 4 hours, right? Police been going by all day. He says, well, you guys are gonna probably have to move this thing, man, because it can't be parked right here. I said, what do you mean? He said, you're going to probably have to move it or I'm going to have to give you a ticket. I want you to know that my arrogance said, well, how much is the ticket? Right. You ain't move my, and I didn't, see, you later on when you look through your stuff, you be like, wow, I really was arrogant. Because, see, I had $2, I could pay a ticket. But a friend of mine told me later on, it wasn't that with him, Adam. It was just how you just said, to hell with his authority. How would you feel if somebody told you that? See, I started to look at my life now in those kind of scenarios. Sometimes I don't say the right thing. I'm just not capable of always saying the right thing. I'm not. But I'm starting to try and govern myself to a degree where I at least, if I've said the wrong thing, sometimes I can go back. Sometimes I have to wait a day. That's true. But I understand now that the power will be saying to me, you got to do things different. You got to trust differently. You got to live differently. And when you do those things, your life get better. I mean, this thing worked. I guess to the newer member or somebody who really don't know the program, this is really about changing your ideals and attitudes. And when you change your ideals and attitudes and find out that the power of this program, the God of this program that we talk about, really wants to help you live. I think that's why it says the results are shown in how you live. And a lot of times I thought the results meant how it turned out, how I got what I wanted. I think the results is in how I respond to it, how my actions are when something happens, not the actual physical, tangible thing you see, but my reply, my response. One of my sponsorship brothers always used to tease me because even in treatment, I would take my ex-wife some money, and she had a car. Truth be told, the car she had was mine. It was in my name. And she wouldn't even come get the money. And one day he told me, he said, man, you a different kind of dude. He said, because I can see paying the money. He said, but I can't see dropping it off and she got a car. And even to this day right now, she's still evil and bitter about it. And I take money on the east side too. It just is what it is. I don't have to be... I know I keep saying I'm gonna be quiet. This other piece is I couldn't figure out, and I know this ain't a religious program, I couldn't figure out why the old brothers was at church. I kept saying, why they at church? They got old at the church, right? And I realized that they had come to some conclusions, you guys. One of them conclusions is a God. And for me, that allowed me to start going to church and being an active member there. I always tell this one about the money. You can say what you want to say about the United States, right? We're a capitalistic society. We like money. But let me explain this to you. If you think there's no God, then look on your money. Because they might trust a whole lot of stuff in the United States, but the one thing their money says is in God we trust. They ain't playing about that God thing. They know some stuff some folks ain't gonna never understand. And one of the things that I know we know in here as recovering people is that there is a God. Most of us trust that God or higher power, whichever one works for you. But it is active in our lives, y'all. And it is working on our will, being transformed into its will so that we could really get the benefits of the program. Because a lot of days I want to tell you that the benefits is the truck and the trailer getting them back. But a lot of days them ain't the benefits. One of the number one benefits is I ain't had no desire to use, I ain't used, and I got some freedom. Now, if you add that up to the fact that I got a wife I can talk to, some kids out there that they might not fully respect me, but they show me respect. You know what I'm saying? And another funny thing in my life is that I never tell everybody. I don't tell a lot of people that I'm in Narcotics Anonymous. I just call the fellowship, like my fellowship brothers. I call my sponsorship family my fellowship brothers. That's all they know. And one of the companies I worked for, when this incident happened, the guy who pays me all the time, he said, "Adam, you seem to be taking this so well." Right? He said, your fellowship brothers must really be some nice people. I'm telling you, you gotta, and you know, if you see some of this stuff happening in my life, the way it's happening, the way it kind of plays out, you'll be looking around saying, he really don't know who he's talking to. You know what I'm saying? But the beauty of it is that my life is changing, that this program is working in my life, and this power is working in my life. And I'm starting to see the power work. And a lot of days I got patience enough to let the power work. That's right. Used to be a time I would push the issue. I don't even have to push the issue no more. Truth be told, I hate to say it like this. Me and Kurt was just joking about this. I say it's almost a benefit for somebody to steal something. Because you would be surprised at the stuff I got back. Thanks for letting me share. My name's Adam. I'm recording that.
Thanks to both speakers.
Yes, sir.
Can we close with a hug circle, please?
Tighten it up a little bit.
Make it hard. Couple, 2, 3. Take them over side.